terrifying at the beginning of every day. You think, how am I ever going to do this? I made one like it in January in Bizen in Japan, and came out rather beautifully from a heavy reduction kiln made out of, it was made out of mountain clay. So this one I've made out of quite a refined mixture we make at Witchford, but it's in a very different clay and a very different kiln, but it's the same sort of pot, so I want to see the contrast. Boxes of stuff are from I think 4 local schools. There's probably more than 100 people have put pots into this kiln. Deal 60, maybe more from that people. Actually, if you add it up, there's probably rather more than 100 people's working here. Then there's various classes from local schools, all with little pieces in. A lad who's lived in the wood all his life, actually. Just gone to university. It's a map of the woodlands, look. It's rather lovely. That was made by my 7-year-old grandson. These are pots by Kaz. These are Ishida Kazuya, who's our resident Japanese lead potter and artist. Here are by Taku, who's our kiln builder. A masterman, which are sort of playing around with the idea of sagas, and she wants them to be even more extreme than they are at the moment. So we'll probably actually use them with sagas and put ash and things in them, and pots in the ash, and put them right at the front and get them really extreme for sections to go. And I've got an awful lot of stuff. These are by a marvellous Japanese chef called Yoshi, and he's made really a lot of utilitarian ware and some very nice jarn as well. Some of them we've put in about 40 or 50 of these. These are for serving Japanese food on, and we put rice straw and all sorts of things on them to get them good. A lot of lovely little sake cups and little serving dishes. All his bowls. Oh, that's broken. Pots. Simple bell marines. A piece of modern clean sculpture. I don't know how that'll come out because it's got various slips on it. We'll see. Sculpture from mugs. Made by the team at Witchford. They're good kiln fillers, those. Beautiful little black clay and porcelain little sake cups by Kaz. This is a clay which he's investigating from Devon, a raw clay and Kigbeer. We haven't got onto clays yet. These are by Adrian Baba. There's a set of plates, tests to see what works. There's some inlaid rice straw and black clay and porcelain. So these will all look totally different when they come out of the kiln. These are water jars, which I make out of this very, very rough clay. See, so this is about as far away from porcelain as you can get. Very, very rough. You can hardly throw it. That's the Oxford Anagama mark. places. These are little tests out of a clay from La Borne in central France, which is Adam did a stage there. He worked there for a bit, but it's a well-known clay which is good for stoneware. Grey, they would call it, which is pretty obvious why it's grey. I think that's the origin of the word. This is another test. This clay is actually from a riverbank near Banbury, and the preliminary tests seem to show that it stands this temperature, but comes out dark purple, which could be quite interesting. The clay is so important in this process. So porcelain, which has no impurities in it, particularly no iron, comes out, you can do whatever you like to it, and it comes out essentially white. It might give you a tiny blush of pink, but really it doesn't do anything. So all these clays which are high iron, they react very strongly with whatever you do to them. So they're the interesting ones to me. This one, that's made by my son Adam. And you see the Vale of White Horse, which is just over the hill there. So the fire comes in there. That will be very heavily ashed. If you ash too heavily over the porcelain inlay, you won't see it. So probably I'd face it towards the kiln, towards the main fire like that. And I'm just at the moment loading the next section. All the rest, there's 5 stoke holes, so except the last stoke hole I've loaded to. And this will go just away from the first stoke hole. Oh, the sun's coming out. We're consulting all the time about what we're going to do in the next section, and as we put each shelf on, we decide basically where the next shelf is going. So that's obviously, if the shelf is tight and you've got small things, that's a very tight pack. If it's tall, you tend to have bigger pots which have bigger spaces between them. So you just try and get the balance right between that. So we've got about 25 tons of wood, we reckon, prepared. I hope to use about probably 15 tons, 12 to 15 tons. But it's a bit difficult to estimate exactly how much weight we've got, but that's what the woodmen here think. These are all big things to go at the front. Again, porcelain inlay. And this is the kiln we're firing this time. So this is the main firebox here, which will be bricked up. There'll be one hole here and one hole there. And when that's hot, there are side stoke holes, and you start rolling the ball of heat that you've created over 7 or 8 days. You start rolling that up by putting little bits of wood through the side stoking holes, gradually opening up more side stoking holes until you reach the top one, which is the 5th in this kiln. You can't go on forever, but we've got 5 side stoking holes here, and after the 3rd one's opened, this is closed down and starts to cool down, but you've got this ball of heat that is gradually being rolled up the kiln. So this is where we got to so far. We tend to put bigger pots at the top, and we kept it loose at the bottom here to make sure we draw the heat down, tight here to stop the heat going too far in too quickly. And here we're going to put a big jar there, and here as really one of my last chances to stack layers of smallerware. And I'm going to do the layers of smallerware that side, because here I'm going to put, there's a fire trench here, so there's a side stoke hole here, so the wood is falling through here. So there's another stack of smallware here, and that I hope will more or less finish the smallware. Some smallware underneath here, big jar there, stoke hole here, with some pots on the floor of the stoke hole which will get extreme treatment. They'll be covered in charcoal and clinker and stuff. And then here, that great big white jar with cherries on it, those tall sculptures in front of it to protect it. And here, a variety of, some small ware we can still do here. We've still got 1 or 2 big pots to get in up on the top. And then interesting stuff, you've got a really interesting stack there. Quite a lot of Kaz's pots at the top here, I think. And we do go just into the front there for pots which we take out at top temperature, like a kind of high temperature raku. I've lost count, but I think this is the 9th pack like this. So you can work out how many pots are in here, and then you can see that there's an awful lot of pots in here. Someone did ask me how many pots, and I said 1,000. I think that's probably an underestimate. And they asked me how many people, I said 100, and I think that's an underestimate. When it all comes out of the door, we might try counting it, but you can't count going into the door, because sometimes things come in and they don't fit, so you take them out again. So you've got to find the right pot to fit. You see how all these fit together? You're calculating to within 1/4 of an inch up the top there. You've got to balance the flow of the air, so that's why I've left it quite loose there, because I want to make sure that I get enough heat. There tends to be a cold spot here, so I've packed it loosely there, and I've really stopped too much air there. The top always fires. There's no trouble firing the top of the kiln. It's always getting the heat down to the bottom is always the problem. If the bottom's hot, the top will be hot. If the top's hot, the bottom isn't necessarily hot. So you've got to encourage the air to go down a bit. Okay. So tape measure, which I spend my whole day losing. So I've got there. I'm not sure that's right there. I might leave that there, I might not. Because I have 15. So you get used to stooping down, I can tell you. Where have I put the tape measure tag? This is Taku, and he's the kiln builder, and has come to help us fire it. He's designed the kiln, built it, and he's come to help us fire it. Thank you, Tag. Thank you. There's always a really tricky moment now when you just think, hang on, we've kept some good pots back. Are we going to get them all in? This is clay with lots of grog in it, so it will not stick too much to the pot. Every pot you have to think about. And then I'm going to put that on those 3 dots. And I'm going to take some straw, which I've scrunched up. Where the pad is will obviously be masked. there'll be a lot of ash on the top, and there'll be marks from the ash of the rice straw will mark the pot. What's going in there? Kaz's pot. They're very useful, these pots, because they go in just like that. This is HMS. Whoever that is. Well, that will come out really nicely there. That's a good place.
Okay.
My name is Kazuya Ishida. People call me Kaz, and I'm from Bizen in Japan. And my father is a traditional Bizen potter, and I grew up with my big kiln, my father's big kiln. And I started ceramic after graduate high school, so it's been over 10 years. I do make pots and throwing things, and in Bizen I've learned a traditional way of ceramics, which to create natural element, and also how to use wood kiln. So when I was apprentice with Mr. Jun Isezaki, he has got a huge Anagama kiln, and I've learned a special way of oxidized firing. So in Oxford, I want to use that technique, and also to share the way of use natural element. Thank you.
Oh, I see. Oh, I see. It's very exciting when they do this, isn't it? Yeah. Another bag.
So this is the first pot out of the kiln. You can take it out red hot, put in some sawdust, and it's a local Banbury clay from a riverbank, which we were tipped off about, and you can see it's more or less survived, but actual fact the supporters pierced it here. It's probably a bit low firing, but if we mix it with something else, it's going to make a really interesting clay. These type of pots where you take them out red hot always look black and rather dark, but it's got great possibilities.
Why is it so black?
That's the Hikadashi technique.
Really? Because I've noticed that some of them...
What I'm going to do is I'll heat them up and at the end, just before we close, I'll put them in. They'll probably be alright.
You know the Veil of the White Horse pot?
You can see it?
You can literally see it through that second hole down.
Oh wow.
We got a great filter. You can just see its head.
Ready?
Is it raining?
So tax cups there, Kaz bowl, twisted torn rim bowls. I think they're a bit further up your pots.
Wait, is that mine?
No, maybe behind or in between some of big pots.
Yeah.
Hold tight, I'm going to print that quote.
Oh, really?
I'm going away with the washing up. Bye bye.
I did about 12 hours stoking yesterday, and I did 5 hours this morning plus a bit of wood shifting, and it's now suddenly all hit.
If you don't want to be here at 6, you want to be here at 7 or 8.
Yeah, I was thinking 7 or 8. Yeah. No, can't.
Taking it out.
I can't be stolen because yeah. Want me to chuck something in? I will stoke.
Film, it works very well. So I really want to show Japanese people this is the way Bizen and Oxford University is doing this project.
But your pots are really going to be really interesting. So I'm looking forward to seeing them.
Too.
How quickly can you put this in? I'm going to show you one piece, and you're going to come here, stand there.
Sit the gloves on.
Wow. Very hot. See the parts. Wow.
You see how they're shiny?
Yeah, they're really red.
Lovely. I'll put it in.
Look, did you see it change?
Well, I will do in the morning. yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Leave that one in and take that one out. Yeah, I think you may be right. Yeah, all right. I like that pot though. I really.
Let's see.
All right. Okay, well I'll take that one out.
Is that because it's easier to take out that one, or why do you think that one?
Because it may happen inside. I don't know.
So you can see through that hole.
They're great. They're great.
This safety version because はい取りました
Why are you wearing that silly hat?
It's a scarf.
Why are you wearing that scarf?
It's to show solidarity with my fellow Japanese potters. It's actually, no, it's very good because it stops your hair burning.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to
Been side soaking all morning. Now we've moved on to the second side soak holes, and we've let this cool down a bit at the front.
Yeah, very good.
Trying to let the temperature come from the front up to the back, essentially.
Extend the scope. thing. Someone comes to us and says, "Oh, I've got this idea. I could make porcelain lichen.
Ooh.
But then how would I attach it to a tree trunk?" There you go.
Oh, fantastic.
Or slightly different.
You do a bigger test next time.
Well, a big tree.
Yeah.
Imagine how amazing it would look.
So do I go inside? Now you go first.
Still, that's a nice colour.
Because the firing took longer than they thought it was going to. And because the weather's too hot, I was. Oh God.
How many were there?
The farm.
The whole flock.
Demonstration.
Some.
This is one. Yeah.
Let's pick that straight up.
Nearing temperature.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Once we've got the front
Change
house,
before
we'll
fire.
start moving the flower kiln.
Yeah.
There's some water. I think they collect rainwater there, don't they?
From Broseley Pit. It's a special sort of clay that Jim gave me, and it produces good results. It's not bad as a chowan, you know, which is the best side, you see.
Look at that.
Well, you can look in there and see if you can recognise anything.
It's quite amazing, those swirls, isn't it? Awesome.
And the swirls, have they come out of the clay body or have they come
No,
out
that's
and moved into the clay?
it's from charcoal burning beneath the pot.
So incredible,
Yeah,
isn't
I'm really
it?
chuffed with them. That's great.
I'm thrilled for you, that's fabulous.
For generations back. So if I go to Japan, my technique may be different, but there's no doubt when I pick up a bit of clay
Yeah.
that I'm professional.
Yeah.
Well, making nice pots is something different, but the
Yeah.
technique, the workshop practice, highly professional.
Yeah.
You don't learn that yourself. You learn that from working in a workshop.
This negotiation, and because I'm doing a project looking at skills in industry and how, in a way, they're kind of other to their industry, but I believe in this kind of reciprocal moment where everything's contingent with the person as well as the material. There's this, you can't take that for granted. It's really a...
But what's unique about this is that it's at Oxford University, and that the whole point is that's a next, you know, it's where things join together. You cite it at Oxford because you want to see what connections happen. Some of his, I've got a little bit of his Sardinian liqueur left actually. It saved the day. At 4 o'clock on Saturday morning, we were all getting a bit depressed. We couldn't get the temperature up and back, and I got his bottle of Sardinian Murta out. We had a couple of shots of that, and then suddenly everything seemed to fall into place.
Do the same on that one.
No.
Yeah, but it's not such a good clay. Good. The rice straw, making marks, strong marks. So that's good.
That's which food, right?
Oh, sweet little jar. Is that yours, Charlie? Porcelain. Not doing anything very much.
You have to contaminate the stuff.
Very nice. That's Yoshi's, isn't it? Oh no, it's not.
No, that's workshop.
Very nice. They should be very pleased with that.
Yeah, this one's yours then.
Oh, look at this. Those come off.
I don't know.
This is a little school piece.
Yeah.
Look at them all. How beautiful.
That's my workshop. Probably.
All right. I love that. Looks like a little Charlie bowl from the refined Kigbeer clay. Oh, look at this one.
It's my workshop, my workshop. Maybe not, maybe yes.
That's a school pot.
Ah, okay.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, that's workshop.
Is it? So it's getting quite hot. This is one of the Witcher clays which is not surviving really, Adam. That's Murray. That's Yoshi. Charlie. Is that yours, Charlie?
No.
My workshop. Or
You got a bit of marking there.
thank you.
I'm going to pick it up and it'll turn to ash.
Okay. Got it.
Very disappointing with the doors. So here's a side stoke hole coming in there, and the other side as well. And that means that this is completely full of ash. So the ash is coming down here, and you can see doing amazing things to this jug. And it's on a pad which is protecting it. So this will all clean up.
It's from the embers that are sat around the bottom of the pot.
You get these different marks on the side of the pot. So this is a very classic Bizen pot made by Kaz. So these are some of Yoshi's plates. So again, there's a bit of a crack there, I'm afraid. Again, these will clean up really interestingly. So this, I hope will clean up well as it goes on top of this. This is a very rough clay, so that'll go on top of that. Anybody seen one of those? Lovely little Bizen classic sake jar.
Yes, please.
Little hedgehog. So you helped Kaz through the night?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did two
Twice.
sessions, yeah, from 11 till 5:30ish, and then he took over. So I got back before the rush, on the motorway, which was good.
Oh,
But
you enjoyed it?
I loved it. It was absolutely fantastic. Yeah,
Great.
Felt really at home.
Thank you very much.
Good.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
all right,
Take care.
okay.
See you next year.
Yeah.
まだ冷え切ってないの？いつからこんな感じなんですか？
こんな感じ。
Anagama turns out is pretty high quality.
How exciting!
So these are the same. They're the same class. So we're putting them in different parts of the kiln so that they can learn to read the pots. So here you go. I don't know what all this means, but it's year 5, I think.
When's the next grade?
Don't eat it all.
Yeah, I'm not sure I can talk about much. But these are Shinto temple offerings that Taku makes from molds. It gives me a lot of joy to see him describe them as well, because he's so filled with joy about these creations. Beautiful things which are shishi, or actually because they've got horns, they're koma inu. But Taku is making these as lovely little sakazuki, and this larger version is a beer cup, but it retains the original form. And because of the way that the kiln fires, obviously each one is individual, depending on the clay it's made from, and depending on where it sat in the kiln. Taku was very concerned that he didn't just do Japanese forms in a British kiln, so he spoke to me and said, well, what should we do that's an Oxford thing, or an English thing, or a British thing? And I said, well, first of all, I said, well, why don't you have a look at some gargoyles on the outsides of the Oxford colleges, because they remind me to a certain extent of these koma inu. So we had a look at some of the gargoyle forms, and one of the common themes that runs through British medieval architecture, obviously, are these green men. So Taku's looked at green men and the form of green men, and he's developing this as a new version of something that he's traditionally been doing, or he himself has learnt from his master for a long time. So it's again, it sits beautifully, and it sits as a cup, but it also sits this way up as a green man. These are koma inu again. We were using them as test strings and drawing them out to see whether the clay was done or not. So we drew a lot of them out of the front of the firebox in the last days of the firing. But the form that they take is useful for the stand for the lid of a wastewater jar, which is used in tea ceremony. So they're not only a functional part of the kiln firing, they're a functional part of tea ceremony utensils, and Tak has made these lovely little vases which sit in them again, which is something completely different, and they are revealing very nicely the fronts and the backs, the goma, the areas where they've been shaded from the flame, and the areas where the vase has caught the ash, the fly ash from the flame. So you get these beautiful. I love that. And they look different because they're fired in different bits of the kiln, and all of the balls are separate, unique, different. Look at them. It's fantastic. And they represent in a miniature form the bigger things that you see from the sculptural pieces that Witchwood have put in, and the larger pots that other people put in, and the chawan, which are the tea ceremony bowls, which exhibit the same features: the fronts, the backs, the topography. They show the history and the life of them having been in a kiln.
Hey, how's it going?
When we go to Turkey every year, especially.
Well, a lot of them.
It's quite nice.
Yeah. Little bit, not brilliant.
And you've been over for a while?
Yes.
3 weeks, 4 weeks.
Okay.
Oh, hi.
White, black, kind of like a shirt on the inside. Yeah, that's just on the inside. It's fine on this side.
White Horse of Uffington. Well, I'd actually, last year's firing, you know, looking for inspiration, I got some images on my phone. One of them happened to be the White Horse of Uffington. Some other sort of Celtic bronze pieces. And then a friend of my mum's came round the workshop and said, could you do me an Anagama piece with the White Horse of Uffington on the side of it? And yeah, so I'd already sort of thought about it, and there we go. And I believe it's going off to Ireland. I think he trains racehorses, so she commissioned it as a gift for her partner.
Nice.
It's going to be at 4 o'clock in the morning on the 8th day. Have a shot of Murta.
Amazing, amazing.
There's one of these ladies with bird's body's called?
A harpy.
Oh, it's a harpy. I'm not sure they like being called ladies.